Special Collections aims to enable the widest possible use of its collections by students, staff and researchers, and provide reasonable access within a framework of regulations designed to preserve rare, valuable and fragile materials. Restrictions to access may be imposed when considering issues such as use and handling, surrogacy and digitisation, and photocopying and photography. Archives and Special Collections complies with legislation that informs the management of collections, including Copyright and Related Rights Regulations 2003. The restrictions related to special collections and archives are governed by this government legislation. And the Data Protection Act 2018. Access to archive records containing personal data is restricted under the Data Protection Act, taking effect of the General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR. The National Archives provides guidance on archiving personal data with particular reference to closure periods. Some material may not be available at all. Other material will be available in part or subject to certain restrictions. For personal information and information linked to identifiable living individuals, there is a closure period of lifetime of the data subject, a lifetime of 100 years, including the assumed age of the individual in the record. As a researcher, you are responsible for any personal data concerning living individuals that you take away from archives and special collections, including any notes, digital images or photocopies. In effect, you become a data controller of the personal data held about the individual. Deciding whether it is appropriate to use or publish personal information, consider: is the person alive? Is the information already published or in the public domain? Is the individual a public figure? Does the information belong to a sensitive category of information as defined by the Data Protection Act? Could the context of the information disclose data about an individual by default? You can find more guidance about GDPR and the Data Protection Act on the Information Commissioner's website. The main cause of damage to collections is sustained through poor handling. Users are offered training on handling techniques and using book supports and snake weights. A culture of good handling will prevent unnecessary deterioration of the books and ensure continued access to collections. The books most at risk and in need of preservation have been identified. Working with the John Rylands Conservation Centre, the manuscripts and early printed books identified as high priority were cleaned, measured, and bespoke boxes made using archival quality material to provide secondary protection for storage and handling purposes. For material deemed too fragile, a surrogate in the form of a digital reproduction may be provided. A surrogate can help preserve and prolong the life of the original that's in poor condition or subject to heavy use by protecting it from overhandling and repeated copying. Self-service photocopying is permitted on material that may be borrowed as long as UK copyright law is adhered to. Reference-only material in the vault, such as manuscripts, early printed books and archives, are not permitted to be photocopied. However, they may be photographed without the use of flash to reduce the risk of damage to the original. This is at the discretion of the Special Collections librarian, so please ask in advance. Permission will be refused if there is a risk to the material or if it breaches legal or contractual restrictions imposed by the donor. There is no charge for personal digital photography, but users will be required to complete a use of digital photography form, recording details of what photographs are taken. Most importantly, any photographs taken are for personal research only and are not to be reproduced on social media or for commercial gain. The information on the form may also be used to monitor use of the collections and to inform future decisions on potential digitisation projects. In signing this form, users are agreeing to comply with regulations governing the management of archives and special collections. Just to reiterate, images are for your own research only, so please do not share on social media or any other online platform. To reproduce an image for publication, either for personal or commercial purposes, requires written consent from the rights holder, usually the donor, compliance with any contractual restrictions and UK copyright law. The university's reprographic services can provide professional reproductions of images for academic publication or commercial venture. A charge for these services may be applied. Further details can be found in the Reprographic Services request form available from our website. You will be required to complete a reproduction and licensing request form with details of the requested image and publication details. Each request will be dealt with on an individual basis by the Special Collections librarian. Further information can be found on our Access the Collections webpage under Reusing Our Material, or email the Special Collections librarian at specialcollections@hope.ac.uk. Thank you.